Alright, y'all read the title. Today I'm gonna break down how I make dark DMV beats for artists like Gizwop and Baby Jamo. Alright, getting right into it. So with beats like this, layering goes a long way because you want to keep them simple, not overcomplicate them so that the artist has space, but you also do want to add that ear candy and make it interesting for someone who listens. So the first thing I did was opened up Hybrid. It's really my go-to plugin for beats like this. So all I did was lay a simple 2-note melody. So my biggest tip for making the melody for beats like this is to use 2 notes that are right next to each other. You notice I got C sharp to C, and when you have notes right next to each other on the piano roll like that, it creates tension. This C sharp wants to resolve itself down into the C. I'll play it for you so it makes more sense. So like I said at the start, layering goes a long way for beats like this, and instead of structuring out actual chords with just this one instrument, I put in a second patch of Hybrid to do the second note of the chord. So you'll notice, follow the same pattern as the first synth I put in, but everything is just 7 semitones higher. So the next sound I put in, Hybrid again, this time I used the bass patch to fill out that low end. And I damn near match that first synth perfectly, except you'll notice right here, I have the C sharp coming in just a little bit later, just to make the melody have a little more bounce to it. So like I keep saying about how important layering is for beats like this, I didn't do anything crazy, but I made a full sounding melody with 2 notes back and forth. So later on in the beat, I did a second bass line. It matches the same notes that we've been using, but I made them hit a little more often, and it'll make sense when it's in the context of the drums. So the last sound I put in the melody was a bell. Metal dust bell is the patch I use in Omnisphere. And my goal with this wasn't to make some crazy overpowering top line melody. It's really just to make a melody that fills in the gaps where the synth chords we laid out aren't. So later on in the beat, just to make that bell melody a little more interesting, I put halftime on, and then I automated it so that during the verse, the bell sounds like this. Just a little touch to make everything sound a little more interesting. So now moving on to the drums. Before I get into the specifics, I want to give a little tip. With DMV beats like this, there's a heavy go-go influence on even the modern trap beats that you hear today. And to really get that bounce that you're going for, you gotta have a lot of sounds. And I'm not gonna say you have to have a lot going on, but it's important to keep the melody simple so that you have space to put more drums in than you might usually put in the beat. So first sound I added was a simple snare, hits on the third of every beat, and then I have a little accent towards the end just to make it more interesting. So in the same way that layering is important for the melody, is also important for the drums. In this, I have 2 more snares that I put in, and this first accent snare, it fills in the gaps that the first snare doesn't. And then that last accent snare fills in the gaps even more. So with just 3 snares, you can already start to see that bounce coming together. Then I put in 2 open hats. The first one's pretty simple, hits at the start of every 2 measures, and then again towards the end. Then the second open hat I put in, it's a little more going on. It hits where the first one doesn't. So then the next sound I put in was the hi-hat. At its core, it's a simple 2-step pattern with a roll every once in a while. And then I also put in accent notes an octave lower just to make that bounce a little more established. So then the last sound I put in was the kick. Really with DMV beats in general, it's important to have some kicks that hit back to back on the downbeat because that really establishes the bounce that you want. And moving on, right here we have our first breakdown section. And this is where that second bass line comes into play. So right here, classic DMV bounce on the kick. I have it hit on every single downbeat. And then every once in a while, I have some accent notes. And then you'll notice the accent notes that I did on the kick at the end. I have them pitched down a little bit lower, and then I have the velocities going up. And then also in that breakdown section, the only other thing that's different is the hi-hats. At the start, I have it just playing those lower accent notes, and then halfway through it switches to the normal hi-hats again. Next, we got our second breakdown section, and it comes in right before the second hook and after the first verse. And it's the same idea, the kicks hit on the downbeat, except it's a little bit less often than that first breakdown. So then next, moving on, beat's almost finished. Put in a couple transition sounds to just accent those different sections of the beat. So right before the first drop, I have a riser. And it just makes it come in a little bit smoother. Later on and throughout the beat, damn near every 8 bars, I have this transition sound. And it just gets you from one part of the beat to the other without directly noticing what's going on. And finally, this is probably the most sauce of this breakdown. The intro. Now to get that type of effect, there's a couple steps, but it's really not too hard. So what you want to do first is pick the section of the beat that you actually want to use for that slow down to speed up type effect. Once you got the section you want to highlight it all. On Windows, if you press Ctrl-Alt-C, it pulls up this menu. And basically what this is gonna do is it's gonna convert all the MIDI you have in the section you highlighted into audio. So to get this section of the beat to speed up and to re-pitch itself the way it does, you gotta first go into mode and hit stretch. And then this is gonna up the time knob to what it's supposed to be at. And then after, you wanna set it back to resample. So now, if we go back to the start of the beat, with the section that I used, if you highlight this section, right click the tempo, and then hit automate. I'm not gonna do it because I already did, but you hit create automation clip, and you'll get a tempo automation clip like this. And you just want to lower that left side down to however slow you want the beat to start. So then you'll also notice on that intro, on the mixing side, I cut the lows out so it doesn't hit as heavy at the start. And then I put a little bit of reverb on so it's more spacious. Then the last step, like always, put the tag on right before the drop. but you want to fill in the gaps that. And my goal with this, like fucking bitch.